There's been a lot of talk about the Electoral College recently. It's going to determine the fate of who is the next president of our nation. But frankly, most people have no idea how it works, why it works, or where it came from. So let's talk about that. My name is Joel Grewe. I'm the director of Generation Joshua. I teach civics and government nationwide to thousands of students, and I love exploring how this system works. The first thing you need to know is, how does the US election process work? For president, you don't elect people in a mass popular vote, although there's been some discussion. In reality, the president is elected by electors. Okay, that begs the question, what's an elector? An elector is a person that you elect in your state to vote for president. Now, there are 538 electors. They're divided between the 50 states plus 3 for the District of Columbia. Thus, the minimum number of electors that any person needs to win to be president is 270. That comes out of Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of our Constitution. It empowers each state legislature to determine the manner by which their state's electors are chosen. Now, in all 50 states and the district, that's done by an election, but it didn't have to be, and it wasn't always that way. Okay? The number of electors in each state is equal to the sum of the state's membership in the Senate, which is 2, and the number of representatives, which varies wildly, from California to North Dakota. So your minimum is 3, and your upper limit is really high, and thus each state has a different impact, but you always have at least 3 for every state. 48 of the states, the election is pretty straightforward. There's a vote, whoever wins the majority in that state, they get all the electors. But Maine and Nebraska are special, and they like to do it differently. They have it set up where each state, the overall vote winner, gets the 2 senatorial electors, so they're base 2. And then their congressional electors, the ones that are equivalent to their House of Representatives, are divided by popular vote in each one of their congressional districts. So that means the total number of elections to determine the electors is actually 56. The District of Columbia, Nebraska, and Maine, I think, have a total of 5, plus the ones for the states. So it works out to be 56 different elections that make up the Electoral College that decides the president. And that begs the obvious question, why the heck did they make it like that? It's complicated. It's not designed to be simple, but there's some really important reasons as to why. Now, the Electoral College system is designed, believe it or not, to protect the minorities. Okay? And this can be a bunch of different types of minorities. It can be rural versus urban, where you're a small area there. It could be geographic minorities. It could be a dozen different things. It kind of doesn't matter how that's cut. It's an understanding that different people in different circumstances all have value. And the design is to prevent one large, dense population from dominating another. But there's been a huge discussion recently about an idea to replace the Electoral College with something called the NPV, the National Popular Vote. Now, that was discussed by the founders back when they originally were designing our Constitution and our system for electing president. Which then begs the question, what would be the advantages or the disadvantages or dangers of the national popular vote? Why did they choose not to do that? Because if we don't learn our lessons from history, we're going to end up repeating it, and that can be rather bloody depending on which lesson you didn't learn. So let's talk about that for a second. The national popular vote design, just by nature of the name, is that whoever gets the most individual votes, full stop, will become the president of the United States. It undoes the Electoral College, and what it means is that the high-density population centers then control who the president is. Now, the Founding Fathers feared that. They feared a popular vote system would give too much raw power to a bare majority, who could then become tyrannical, including overriding and harming the minority. One of the advantages of the Electoral College system is that in an incident of misconduct or in fraud that happens in our electoral system, because those do happen on occasion, sometimes intentional, sometimes by accident, and sometimes we never figured out exactly what happened. We know there are errors in our electoral system sometimes, but we build a system designed to accommodate for errors. That's our Electoral College. Okay? The idea behind it is that, at the end of the day, one vote might go the wrong way, but since it's not absolute power to the total number of votes, the divisions within the system safeguard misconduct in one spot from spilling over the entire country. That allows us to trust the results of a presidential election, even recognizing that people do bad stuff sometimes, and that includes within our election system. The Electoral College was a system designed to prevent misconduct in determining who's going to be our president. Now, does it have issues? Of course it has issues. But if we took that away, the ability for misconduct to have an impact across our nation would drastically increase. The concern that people have is that the Electoral College system is not a true reflection of the people's vote. And in a sense, they are correct. It is not. It is the people's will with a moderator. I'm Joel Grewe, and for that reason and a whole bunch of others, I very much support the Electoral College.